This is Short Hammer. It is the 8th of August, 2021. This is Trading Zones. I have about 15 minutes that I have been allotted to be able to record this watch list. And so let's get to it. So let's see, make sure this is going. So the MNQ, if we're looking at it, we did make all-time highs. This little dash line here at 5.1, looks like about 6.6, that area. Watch that area, right? Because whenever you have a previous close line, you always watch for the retest. That's something to watch for a potential reversal, whether it's we'd broken up higher and we pulled back to this area and then we bounced, or if we're buying up to that area and then we see if we could break through that or if we go back down. So that's interesting. That's an interesting area to watch. What we're looking at right now is we pull back to this area, which is the 15.086 by 15.114. So we want to see if that area holds previous high, right? And if we get a higher high here, which we might get with the infrastructure bill, it seems on the precipice of being passed, things may get a little bit nutty. But just watch these levels. The lower level below this is 15.015, 15.008, 14.993. That's another area. That could be a demand pocket there. And 14.88350 is the line below that. And below that, 14.724. I have not had a chance to draw zones on these. So when I've been trading the MNQ, just this past, I'll say a past week, I've just been waiting for the setups, and I think the time away when I've been so busy and our baby being born, it's given me so much more clarity when I look back at things. It's easier to spot the setups now. And so what I'm watching for when the market opens at 6 is, do we see a gap up and do we get through this previous clothesline quickly? If not, I'm looking for a dip down to this next area here. And what I look for when we get to those areas are candle patterns, whether they be reversal patterns, bullish engulfing patterns, whatever. That's what I look for to see what the next movement is. And then I'll look for an increase in or uptick in volume to confirm the follow through, that the market is following through on that movement. So at this moment, I'm not bearish, I'm not bullish. I'm just usually neither. I just want to see what the market does. And then I want to be in with the wave and follow the wave from demand to supply, from supply to demand. That's all I want to do. But I'd watch the MNQs, watch those levels. If we drop below those levels, you do have these lower levels: 14.724, 14.602, 14.47, 14.471, 50 all the way down here. What I'll also watch for, and I'm gonna be really quick with this, is as the MNQ is moving up, right? Go to Think or Swim, and you can look at the basket of stocks that make up the MNQ and see which ones were bullish last week. What's pulling it? What's moving it? That's what you really want to look at. That's what you really want to know. And once you decipher what tickers are moving it, then you can sort of keep an eye on those. And if those tickers or particular tickers are really bullish, even if you're trading the MNQ, you may want to look for those for movements that you may want to take individually in those individual tickers, separate from the MNQ. So that's something to watch for. Which tickers are moving to MNQ? What's the story? What's the thesis? Why are those tickers moving? And which tickers are not moving that make up the MNQ? And when or make up the Qs? And if those tickers decide to move, whether up or down, based on how it's weighted, what do you think the reaction will be? That's something to dig into. So let me keep it moving. MES, same thing, going up. So post close, we're above the previous close line, which is right here, 44.21. So you want to see if we have a pullback to there, if the buyers step in and push us up. Look at all these upper wicks where we came back down. So we're making a higher high here. We'd love to see an expansion. We just need good news to push this and pop this and follow through on the volume. That's all we really need on this. So I'll be watching that. If we pull back and we cut through this, the previous clothesline, then I'd have an eye on the 4405 by 4403, seeing if the buyers step in there. But just the way the market is situated right now, uh, the the focus is going to be the infrastructure bill, right? And based on that infrastructure bill, that's going to create so many jobs, and it's going to create just like a major push and a boost in the economy. So companies like CAT, uniform companies, the companies that perform that provide uniforms for workers, just City Works, like all these different companies, and also private enterprise, right? Because whenever these big contracts, construction contracts come down, there's always a huge bucket of that goes to private enterprise. So people that own construction companies, those things are going to push. They're going to need to purchase products from Fortune 500 and other companies, whether it's materials, whether it's renting equipment. They're going to need the services of those companies to be able to scale up their workforce. So it's going to be interesting. There is going to be a push on employment if infrastructure is passed, guaranteed. But just all the supporting businesses and companies and corporations around that are going to benefit from the infrastructure bill, it's going to be tremendous. So keep an eye on those tickers and watch these levels on the MES. Moving on to the RTY, which I do believe did what we one of the things that we thought it could do, right? And what we wanted to see a push above 2211, and then we wanted a continuation through the 2234 area, which we did see. Look at this pop, right? But what we still have not seen is a close above the 2247, which is what we want to see. Close above here, then a bullish extension, first wave right here on 2279, preferably extension to 2290. Remember, that's small caps and financials. So we do want to see a push here. And we should see, like, as the infrastructure bill comes out, companies should, like a lot of these small businesses and companies should be pushing loans. So in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but what I would look for is there being an expansion, right, of business loans, business credit, of companies, new companies that potentially may be opening up to benefit from the infrastructure bill, depending on what the criteria is to be able to get some of that money, or get some of those contracts. There should be, for the banks that provide those, they should see a uptick in that area. Whoever handles, their business side, they should see an uptick in their current clients and their activity, and also new clients coming in and new businesses opening up to benefit from the infrastructure bill. So that should also be interesting, just something to think about. But that's what we're watching here. If we dip back down here to 2234 and follow sort of the previous pattern here, we could see 2211 again, right? So what we want here is when we open, we want to gap up and we want to increase in volume. We want this push. And we prefer this thing run straight into 2290s, but we'll see how that plays out. But if you're looking at this from a downtrend perspective, that has been broken and sort of been consolidating. We just want this consolidation to break up, right? If you're bullish, you want this consolidation to break up, especially with infrastructure pending. Keep it moving expeditiously. Amazon being Amazon. The preference was for Amazon to drop down here around 3220, which is a previous area that we spent a bunch of time in. And I like this area because above we're more bullish, below we're more bearish, meaning when it touches, right? So if we're below and we run back into this area, then it'd be great for this to reject and give us more downside. If we're above and we drop down into this area, it's a demand pocket. We want this thing to buy back up. But right now we're kind of meandering around the 3340s. So what we want to see is a separation here. Either we're going down or we're going up. And we look at these wicks here, right? On the 20, hold on the 3rd, on the 4th, and on the 5th. Couldn't get through. Couldn't see anything above the 3386 area, right? We held below that. That's interesting. So what we're going to watch for, and this is what you want to watch for as we're consolidating here, to either make a further move down or to go up. You want to see a break above 3386. If we see a candle close above there and we're bullish, our expectation is the 3430s right up here. That's what I'm looking for this week. If we stay below here and begin to negative drift, watching out for 3268, potentially 3220s. That's what I'm watching for on Amazon. We'll see how that plays out. And I'm not saying that we can't go higher than this 34, 33 area, but that will be my first target, right? And I know we have this line here around 33, what's this, 3,400 flat. So could we hit there and that'd be a good place to exit? Potentially. But my expectation is if we break above here, is that we see a continuation. So we'll see how that works out. For right now, we're kind of channeling, here, going sideways. But my expectation is that with Amazon, whenever Amazon goes sideways, this is probably with most stocks, but Amazon I'll speak to specifically. Whenever Amazon consolidates, it goes from consolidation to expansion. And that expansion usually is nuts. So that's what I'm waiting to see with Amazon, is from this area, do investors or traders see more value to the upside or more value to the downside? And that's what I'll be watching for, to see whichever direction it decides to go. I'll plan to be riding the wave. Now, if Amazon's a little bit too expensive for you, there are multiple ways you can trade it. You can trade it using verticals. You can trade it selling premium. You can trade different shares of Amazon. There are ways you can do that, or you can trade option contracts. And there are many different ways to trade Amazon. So don't look at the price of Amazon and feel that it's out of your reach if you don't necessarily have a $30,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 account. You can still trade Amazon. It's just the strategies that you use to trade it are very different from someone that's above PDT, in my opinion. Keep it moving. Eye on Netflix. So we are above the 514-ish area. And this little zone here, 514 by 502-ish. So it's lower 500s, right? So we're above this. What do we want to see? Extension into 529 and then into 535. And we want continuation to the upside, right? We did mention prior to earnings that we felt that Netflix was under pressure from Disney, from Amazon, right? So what we want to see is, if we pull back here, we want this thing to bounce and give us an extension up here into the 529.40s. We'll see if that happens. Once we get there, it could be, either there'll be strength to be able to eat through this level and give us an extension into the 535s, or we could go sideways and retrace. If we drop back down to the 514s and the buyers do not step in and we fall back into this channel, there is possibility to get negative drift down to 507.60, maybe even down to the 504, and maybe even to the 502s. We kind of have to see how that plays out. But with people not being home, if eyeballs aren't going to be the criteria because people are headed back to work, right? Then we do want to see if maybe raising the prices, sort of a lockdown on accounts and not allowing people to share as much. What are some of the things that Netflix may try to implement that may negatively affect their customer base? We have to see. It's going to be interesting. But also we have the Delta variant flaring, and there are different things going. With us sort of headed back to school, there may be a risk, right? We're headed back to school. It's going to be the fall. People are going to be indoors again. There may be a risk similar to with how the flu works, that we might see a spike in COVID cases. And how may that affect people going to work and people being home? So that could also impact some of these previously COVID tickers, right? Tickers that benefited from COVID. So just keep an eye on Netflix. It's interesting. Watch these levels. We're right at some of these levels that that are kind of tight. Where we did break above and pull back to the previous upper wicks, this area, and into this candle structure here, right? So we want this to hold, and we want to buy in a break into 529. That will be interesting. Already mentioned what would happen if we saw negative drift. NVDA is above our 200. We want this to hold, more continuation. So we'll be keeping an eye on NVIDIA. It is uptrending, just grinding on up. So all these pullbacks, they're buying it back up, right? We're not seeing negative drift here. So we want to see this buying continue. Want to stay above the 292 area. I'm not doing anything. The next level I have for this, if we can see some extension and some volume, is 217.21, then 221.53. If we drop back down, watch this level right around here, the 193 area. Then we watch the 181s, but we'll see how this plays out. Those are the levels to watch. Watch this previous clothesline here, right around 206.32-ish. Just keep an eye on that, right? And also to the left, the previous high wave at 209.12. So watch those areas and see what we get. If we dip and the buyers step in, then for me, I'll be looking to exit around this 206 area. I wouldn't be in much beyond that. If we gap up and we leg through the 209s, my target is 217s. Alarm is going to sound. I'm not going to make it through all the way. And I'm going to have to jet. Apple kind of meandering, going sideways. We'll have to wait to see how this plays out. Lower line is 144.91. If we get through that, then 142.14. These down waves, we haven't seen a lower low yet. So a break of this area here, what's this? The 145s into the 144s would be bad. It would give us a different look here, right? Just looking at this area here. So it would have been higher lows. And we want to see a higher high out of this wave. So this is the last low wave, made a higher high. So we want this wave to break through the 147.50s and give us a squeeze up and an extension to 149.97. This 147.50 is an area we have to get above. Look at these upper wicks here and here. This is from the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of August. You sort of see this topping action, right? And this being one of the tickers that's in the queues, you would expect this to be breaking out. Are you seeing something that's interesting? The queues are up, but Apple's not. Apple isn't pushing through that top and breaking out and running. Amazon's not pushing through that top, breaking out and running. So that's interesting, right? That's something to make note of. Neither is Netflix. So it's interesting when you see this and you're like, hey, because the queues are up, that means tech stocks are running. Not necessarily, but keep an eye on it, right? We want to see what happens there. Microsoft still not at all-time highs. Nice little different pattern here, but we do want to see this breakthrough. It could be a flat top. We'll see what happens, but it's squeezing up. Look at these lower wicks, sort of buying that up. All those not seeing a lower low wave. So what we need to see here is a break above the previous highs, and for there to be extension above the 291.80s area. We want to see a push through there and bullish into 300. That would be interesting. If we see negative drift, watch 288.47, then 286.40, then 284.24 by 283.62. That is on Microsoft. Facebook, we did dip. Buyers stepped in 347 to 349. We're back here above the 362s. What we wish to see here is continued extension up, but you could see a dip in some sideways action before you see that push. But this buy up here from this candle structure, you would expect that first to happen here when you see these upper wicks, but that we didn't see that. We saw that the lower area and that we bought back through there quickly. There may be some bulls in this bad boy. Remember, it's all about the advertising. And so Facebook could be really interesting. We want to see how they're doing, even though there's significant headwinds from the FTC and some of the crackdowns on a lot of these companies and their practices. I would keep an eye on this, and maybe we get a little bit of a push into 373. Infrastructure bill will affect a lot of tickers, and Facebook may be one of them. We don't know, but just keep an eye on it. I think it's going to be very interesting the upcoming week and the week after that. Once infrastructure is passed, there may be a slight euphoria in the market where people are just, dumping money into it because they feel that we have a direction, and the gridlock in Congress isn't sort of stopping one of the bills that needs to be passed, which is infrastructure. And that's going to flow directly into a lot of these Fortune 500 and just other companies, other corporations that are in the stock market. A lot of this money is going to flow into their pockets, right? So this is going to be interesting, and not in a negative way, but if you have a construction business, you do need to purchase materials and rent equipment and utilize resources that you have to purchase from some of these bigger corporations. So they will benefits the economy. So we'll see how that goes, but watch these levels on Facebook. And unfortunately, I have to stop there. Let me take a peek at Tesla, and that will be my last ticker. Tesla, we need bullish above 713 to be able to open up the 780s. Until we see that, we've got buckets. We are above this area here, which is the 690s. Look at this. So if the buyers step in there, we still have to get through the 713s. Negative drift could take us to 651.30s. If we end up back down here in the 651s, for me, this is just pure channel action, and I'll look to see if the buyers step in. But if you check these low wave candles down around 627s and this area here around 699, the pop up into the 713s could be an anomaly. The best thing that could happen would be a gap above 713, buyers give us a squeeze. But I'll be watching this. But right now, for me, I don't really have a play on Tesla, and I'm not looking to jump into Tesla until it gives me one or two things. Bullish above 713 and above the previous 725 area. I want to see bullish through there to give us a squeeze into 784, or back here around 651s. If we see negative drift below, I see these lower wicks. I'll wait to see if the buyers can push us back above the 651. Now I'll look for a little bit of a long situation here, and I'll sort of trail this on the way up. That's my plan. We'll see if it works out. It may not. Keep your eye on news and sort of what the vibe is if you're trading Tesla. A lot going on in China right now with companies, and just keep an eye on that. And and also on what's going on in the chip market. That's also something interesting to watch. But that is it for me. If you like this video, please tap that like button. And if you'd like to receive more content like this, and also content from Elisa, she's close to doing some more of her pivot videos that are absolutely amazing. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Power of Pivots, where you can look forward to receiving not just videos from me, but videos from Elisa as she shows you how she utilizes her Power of Pivot script to be able to find great pre-market, intraday, and post-market trades and entries. Swing trades also. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful week of trading, and I look forward to seeing you next week.